Hello everyone, very nice to greet you today for this online masterclass, second episode with Tomass today. Very nice to meet you like this. I think for us it's a great feeling to be in some form of touch, again. Of course I was very much looking forward to come to Riga this summer. We still have to be patient, but at least we have this opportunity now to work a bit together. And I'm very happy about it. Thank you so much to the Riga Jurmala Academy for organizing all of this. And I think we're ready to start. What do you want to play today?
I would like to start with Bach's Third Suite, Prelude.
Okay.
I should probably take off my headphones.
It's up to you. Yeah, if you feel more comfortable, you can just play.
Well, I will put them on afterwards. I just
exactly.
The first time.
Yeah, that's perfect. Great. Bravo. Very nice. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful sound. Of course, it's hard to judge from here, but in general, I really like the warm sound that you have, and it's really nice to hear you play. Great. Just one main thing I was thinking about was the tempo. It was quite interesting because when you started, I thought, for my taste, it would be quite on the slow side, what you did. Probably too slow. And it was interesting because in the middle part, when you play, I could see that you were going forward and forward all the time. And you actually ended up with a very flowing tempo, and then you started to slow down a little bit, and then you were back, not quite as slow as the very beginning, but in a sort of middle tempo. Yeah. So I don't know if you noticed it.
I noticed it a bit, but as for like the beginning, well, I like to keep it like as an opening, not so fast. It explains the whole piece that's going to come afterwards, or so.
I see. Yeah.
Well, that's my idea.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. As I said with Bach, I think there is no other piece or composer where there could be more ranges of interpretation. So of course it's a very, very big universe, and I'm not here to say this is right or wrong. It's of course not. I just think at least that it would be nice if you have one tempo that flows, for the whole piece, for the whole prelude, so that it's not too much moving, in terms of tempo. So either you try to enjoy what you said, this rather slow tempo, also in the middle part, so that we keep the same tempo feeling, and then also until the end. So I think this is quite important to have at least one tempo unity, for this prelude. So personally, I find it, if it's a little bit too slow, I find it always a bit harder to show the lines, especially in this prelude. It's a lot about, it's a bit like mountains, for Bach, people see colors, some see landscapes, some see dynamics, levels. There are so many ways of talking about this music. I'm from Switzerland, so of course I like to see mountains in this one. And I was missing sometimes, this feeling of lines, especially in the end when you play. Yeah, I like to see this. This is your shape, right? Those are the steps that you are using, and for me it was a bit too much. I exaggerate, but it was a bit too many notes, at the same levels, and I couldn't feel, this. And that's why I'm talking about the tempo first, because it might be related, that the slower you play it, the harder it is for you to show us where the lines are going, right? Yeah. So you can of course keep this slow tempo, but let's try now with the same tempo, if you want, to have even more clear shapes, so that we really know where the line is going, and we avoid a sort of sometimes a bit static way of playing it, right? Yeah. So just try from the beginning again. Exactly. So here, for instance, I think it's very important to just feel. It's just extremely easy from here to here. here, right? If you have too many stops in between where you, I think it's just you know, I think it's just one gesture. It's really the curtain opening, you know. And if you want to have the curtain being opened in the most beautiful way, it's nice to have it like this, you know. If it goes like this, then in the end, it's like, okay, is it going to work or not? So maybe just try to have one very simple line. Good. So here again, what I see is we start down here. One step. One other step. And then going back, yeah? So it's a very simple shape, right? It's starting here. It goes like this. And I think it's quite important to show those lines, you know, because it's all about Baroque music, you know, the way you phrase. It's mostly about waves, or you can say bows, or you know, or arcs. It's very also in Bach music, you know, you always talk about cathedral architecture. So it starts from here and it goes there, right? So for me, it's a little bit too much at the same level, you know. You start with a lot of intensity. And then I don't really know. For me, it's just too much intensity all the time. You know, I lose the scape somehow. You know, the shape. I mean, yeah. So of course, it has a lot to do with taste, I guess. No, but I think in Baroque music or in Bach music, those lines are extremely important. So I'm not quite sure that that's the way you know, it should be presented, you know. So could you try just at least once to start from there and maybe just release a bit and then try to build something and then to go back or you know.
Okay. From the beginning?
No, maybe just directly where it starts.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So now we see more the general idea, and maybe you don't have to stay that much. You know, I was showing it on purpose, you know, but I wouldn't stay too long on it so that it sounds extremely natural, you know. But in your head, it's very important to know those are the steps, you know, and try to shape it like that. Yeah. Can you try one more time? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Of course, it's still hard to tell, you know, here acoustically how big your dynamics are.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
A bit
annoying. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I know.
getting caught up on the pegs.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so when you start hearing. Maybe just for me now, to make sure that I hear it, could you exaggerate a little bit the different characters or dynamics that you want to, so that I can really hear it clearly.
Okay. Just from that play.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, it's great. I think just in general, I have the feeling that you know, it's all about harmonies moving, right?
Yeah.
So I have the feeling that the intensity is not always there. You know, sometimes it should be kept, the intensity, for 1, 2, 3 bars. That's what I said also in the previous masterclass. I think it's very important to show where you have 1 bar phrase, 2 bar phrase, or even 4 bar phrases, you know, and I think it's the whole challenge also for us. The listeners won't be able to tell what's happening, but in terms of intensity, the phrasing, the bar phrasing is extremely important now. So when you play this, for instance, you know, here, for instance, the intensity, I mean the intensity of the harmony is staying for 2 full bars. It's still intense. And finally here, and now. Yeah? So this is something extremely important. If you release too soon, then I lose, you know, the intensity of the harmony, and then it doesn't really make sense anymore, right? Yeah. So that's one thing, and then when you start here, so 3 bars steps, you know, with clear progression, 1 bar, 1 bar more, the 3rd bar even more, and then you reach that point. Yeah, and then I would even start softer, you know, because this is a long way to go again, right? Yeah. So I think sometimes you could really manage to have a sound that's more rich, more intense, you know, for longer periods, and then when you go back, you could really, you know, extremely, you know, play with a very light and extremely sensitive way, you know, so that your range of dynamics is even bigger. Yeah, can we try this spot, because it's a very special one, I think. From here, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Here, you know, that's a typical thing. If you want to start softer, just be very careful about the A string, because it's the one that really sticks out. So try to really play it very softly, so that I don't hear it, because I want to hear, and then more, and then, yeah. So you should be really conscious about what you want to do, to shape, and how you should you should do it on a technical level, right? So here, typically, try to really take care of the A string, that it's not too loud.
Okay.
Yeah, good. I think here also in terms of intensity, if you take too much freedom with the rhythm, it was a bit rubato, like, you know, what you did. I think it should be really... Bum, 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 bum. I should really be able to feel this rhythm, this progression. If you do too much rubato, then it's hard to, you know, to make it convincing. So, and show me even more. Yeah? Show me the steps even more clearly. Good, good, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, because now, of course, you're playing a bit faster than your basic tempo. Sorry about this. It's just, for me, it's more natural to play that way, but I totally respect your idea also. So you can try then, you know, in a later process to have those ideas of line and to try to adjust it to your tempo, of course, yeah? But
yeah, I'm open-minded. I don't mind
yeah.
playing it faster, actually.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, now I could really hear the progressions, you know, and it was actually more captivating to listen to it, you know, because you really feel, you know, where the harmony is going, right? And one thing about the fingering, I think it's quite nice. I like to use the open A string here. I think, as I was also saying for Bach, I really enjoy playing in the first position more and more now because it has something so natural. And this is very disturbing, no? That's where the tension comes from, right? He's in A minor, and then, so it's already a quite dramatic, you know, you were of course, in C major. Everything good, no problem, life is good. And finally, and suddenly you arrive here, and I like this tension. Again. Yeah, so for me there's something very natural and very expressive about this fingering. So yeah. Maybe you could try it and see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will
I need to get used to it.
Exactly. Absolutely,
I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a very easy way to express tension and pain, you know. Yeah. And what's great about it is then here, and then here you come back to very warm and beautiful sound, you know. So I think, you know, some experiments and sensations are very important also in this music. You know, it's one way also to express, you know, tension or pain or so. So I think it's a fingering you might want to consider, and it's, I think, anyways, also in terms of well, for this prelude it's fine because it's not so tiring, but it's always good sometimes to just stay here, so that if you play the whole suite, sometimes you have to think about, you know,
to get my fingers relaxed.
Exactly, yeah. It's something you should always consider, you know, because when you play the whole suite, and then if you play the whole sixth suite, it's even more challenging, of course. That's something you might also consider it, yeah? Okay, so Good. Why don't you play now from here?
Okay.
Good. Great. I think here we have. Here you could also play more with phrasings, you know? It sounds everywhere a little bit the same, no? Why don't you suggest, for instance, one phrase, one bar phrase with, you know, always some line in it, no? So when it goes up, you open a bit and then you go back, okay? And here, then you have this. And then relax. So I think it's more interesting if you do one bar, 2 bars, and then 1 bar, you know? So instead of to come back, I mean, it's just an idea, you know? Of course, there are so many ways to do it, but try to do something at least, yeah? Okay, good, yeah. So here again, for me, it sounds a little bit too much the same. Yeah, it might be, of course, because of you know the technical sound that I hear. Yeah, it would be much better, of course, to hear you live. But still, I can tell that from here you are in the tonica, so C major, and then it's a big progression all the way to this huge pedal. So all those, then you can't play all those harmonies the same way. Yeah, I think it's a pity, you know, because this music has so much to offer, right? So I don't know how you want to do it. I'm very open, but I think you should show us, you know, where there is more weight in the harmony when it's more relaxed, or if you want to just build it. What I like to do and what I think many people do, so everyone has his opinion, but it's nice to start very, you know, relaxed and and finally you're there. And in terms of structure for the whole prelude, it would be actually quite nice to have this idea of, you know, finally the cathedral, it gets up, always higher and higher, and then you have this huge, you know, feeling of plenitude, you know, and in terms of sound also. It's so long now, the G is gonna stay for, you know, so many bars. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something you should prepare, you know, and before you can't just play it like this and then suddenly you get there. I think in terms of proportion, it doesn't match, you know.
Yeah.
So I would try to find a way before to shape it.
Like.
Yeah, to prepare it, or at least to give us some different levels, you know, in all this harmony. So can you try once from here?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah. So maybe it has to do with the technique also, yeah, because I can tell that many times when I need the deep sound of the lower harmony, you know, sometimes you are at the wrong part of the bow, and of course it's harder to get the sound if you're here, you know. So maybe you could consider your bowings again, so that this I would try to be more in this part of the bow, so that I think this part is where you can really forge the sound, you know. And if you want to let us hear those deep basses more and more, so that your cathedral is growing every time, I think you should really try to do it in this part of the bow. Yeah? And don't be afraid to go also sometimes closer to the bridge and deeper in the string, so that I really hear clear steps in your sound, and I really want to hear how it opens. I think that also maybe the reason why there's not so much happening in terms of dynamics in this passage is maybe also a technical issue, that you somehow just stay a little bit on the surface, and then of course there is not much happening, you know. So let's just see it once slowly. Did you see my bowing? It's actually the printed one.
The printed one.
Yeah.
Well, I have very weird music.
Okay.
That's
okay.
It doesn't have any understandable bowings. They switch around every few bars.
Okay. Okay. So. If you want, I can also send you the. Oopla! I think my mic went down. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. I think I can really recommend the Bärenreiter edition, where you have the manuscript also, of course not from Bach, but from his wife. And let me just see. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, in the manuscript it's quite clear. It's always like this. Well, or but at least the first one is third. It's of course it's if you read about the manuscript, there are still many question marks in the end, because you never know how clear it was, and if everything was meant to be like this. But try at least to have a bowing that allows you to be at the right part of the bow, so that you have more it's more easy to produce what you want to do. Yeah. Okay. So I think.
Well, this time it mashed up quite a bit.
Yeah. Don't worry. It's we're here to try things around. I think for me, if you want to try to have a progression, you should start way less, you know, so that you have a feeling of serenity, you know. So for my taste, you could really just play softer, lighter, and then from there you try every time a bit more. Here. And then at the very end, I would definitely play this on the A string so that it's really with a lot of sound. If you play, it's a bit too, yeah, okay. So those are things you can try to think about. Yeah. Now I just want, before we go, you wanted to play the Sarabande also, or?
No, just this one.
Oh, just the Prelude. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Haydn D major, right?
Yeah, second movement.
Second movement. Okay, good. So that means we still have some time for this. So can you try now from the end when you play? From here, 71.
Yeah.
Good, good. So here again, that's what I meant. I think if you start too loud, in the end I can't really hear the progression, you know.
Yeah.
It should be, I mean, maybe it's wrong to talk about dynamics in Bach music, of course, because we know that they wouldn't write, you know, forte, piano, or so it's of course not about this, but I think it's about perspective, you know, and if you think about it in a very religious way, it should feel like, you know, it's infinite, you know, and I want you to let us hear that in terms of sound also, yeah? So if you start already with a dynamic that's quite strong and that doesn't get beyond, then I have the feeling of being in a church like this, you know? What I want to feel is freedom, you know? So how can you let us hear this feeling of, you know, eternity or space, you know, that's huge in terms of sound. I think very technically said, you should have more perspective in your play. So maybe start less and then always a bit more. So that I really feel, oh, okay, this is opening, right? I think it's extremely important. Yeah?
Okay. Should I try it from the same
From
way?
71, yeah. Okay, good. I can't really see it because you have your stand. Can you just move it a little bit on the left? Yeah, perfect. So basically, if I want to hear those steps, I think your the C should be a bit more. D even more. And then the E finally, right? So technically seen, I really think you should consider going every time a bit closer to the bridge so that the sound has more richness, more brightness, and also going deeper in the string, yeah? So that I can really hear, and then more, and then, yeah? Can you just play once those notes like this?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then ideally, of course, the last one should be down bow, yeah? So start maybe like this. Exactly. And try not to do it for now with vibrato.
Yeah.
So that it really comes from the bow first, yeah? Exactly. That's what I was saying to the students from the previous masterclass. We know that in Bach's time, you know, vibrato was very was used with a lot of care. You know, it was probably only in very slow movements to bring some little expressivity, but otherwise it was actually not really used, right? So I think in a technical from a technical point of view, it's anyways great if you focus on the bow, you know, when you practice Bach. So here, typically, don't try to help yourself with the vibrato, but really try to let it come from the bow. So it means, as I said, contact points, you know, very efficient, and then maybe more speed and more weight, right? So those are the three things you have at your disposal to create those sound effects, yeah? And then maybe sometimes if you want, use the vibrato, but very little, yeah? Okay, so now you have the main structure and you can add the note in between and let us hear those steps. Great, it was much better, yeah? So now I could really, I start to have this feeling of, wow, this is endless, you know? It can...
It also has a shape.
Exactly, yeah? So it's extremely important that you know how to figure this out, you know? It has to do, of course, with technique, but also in your head, you should be more conscious about it, I think, yeah? Otherwise, you're in the danger of playing it in a way that's a little bit too equal all the time, yeah? That's what I would say. Okay, should we do some Haydn maybe? We still have, I think, about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, maybe I can just already start with it, like, don't not play through.
Yeah, of course.
Everything's falling apart.
Okay, Don't worry. All right. So let's go back to the beginning. You know, I was talking about phrasing in Bach now. Haydn is, of course, a bit later, but it's basically the same idea that you have different phrasings in terms of bars, right? So here it's a beautiful example, typical classical music, classical period. You have 2 bars, 2 bars, and then 4 bars. Yeah, that's something that comes so often. Yeah, and that's something I really want to hear, so that the structure is more clear, and then the line and your gesture, musical gesture, is also more thrilling. You know, because if you release, then well, actually, sorry, I wasn't quite right. I think it's even nicer than this. It's 1 bar, 2 bars, and then 4 bars, right? So that's amazing, because it starts 1 bar, again 1 bar, we are a bit lost, and then 2 bars, right? And now starts the long 4 bars phrase, right? So try to keep the tension. And finally you release. Okay? So I think that's the most simple idea, but it's not so easy to make it, you know. So try to think about it. And for the first bars, the first 2 bars, you don't have to do it, but of course the harmony is different. No, I mean, I like to play it quite often, bum, 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 and then it doesn't have to be, but maybe you want to enjoy the different harmony, you know, and I don't know if it should be twice exactly the same, right? So this is also an idea that I'm suggesting to you. Great. Just one thing about the line, that's if you take too much bow here, of course then it's a long way back here, you know. So try maybe to save your bow so that you can really, you know, so that the line is not disturbed by, you know, this. Yeah, for me it's still a bit too, a bit more like, I think it should be lighter, you know, try to, so that it's just a very natural upbeat to the next bar. Yeah. Sorry, I'm being very picky, but that's also a big theme in Haydn, the legato, you know. If you take too much bow here, the other problem is that I hear a bit, I exaggerate, of course, but when you come back, I hear a little bit of holes, you know, in the legato. So the more you save the bow before, the more you can really try to have the best legato as possible. Yes. Great. And then here, I think Again, more line. It's a bit too much. It's a bit too much on the same level for me, yeah?
Should I try from the same place?
Yeah? Good.
Should I move on?
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Great. Mm-hmm. Good. Here again, try to be... Try to really think that you are singing with your bow first, and then the vibrato is the last 5% maybe of the expression. Yeah? But can you try just once for me without any vibrato, so that I can really check how beautifully you shape it with the bow? What I hear a little bit is I can hear how you're changing the fingers, you know.
Well, I'm stressed out. So I have to think about my vibrato.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think this is really a tip I can give you. The more you can practice it without vibrato, the better you will feel, because as you say, it's a tendency that we have to hide a bit the problems with the vibrato. It's a bit the same for the pianist with the pedal, of course, right? So I think when you practice and even now, you know, during a lesson, I think it's very important to check everything, because 95% of the expression is coming from here. Yeah. And then intonation also, of course. Yeah, it's much easier to check if your intonation is perfect, so that the sound and the richness of your sound is really at the highest level possible. And only when you have checked all of that and you feel perfectly great, you can start to add here and there a little bit of vibrato, I would say. You know, I think it's a good thing. So when you play, you should really try to hide any sort of disturbing elements, you know, in the phrase. Can you try once more? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Here it's the same thing. I think you are going from here. Very easy. When you look at the shape in the music, it's so clear, you know? I think you could show it even more. So maybe if you want, of course, you can show this, but then yeah? Okay, so now you can just play freely as you want, if you want to add some vibrato. Yeah? The same thing? Okay, good. One thing I want to talk about now is also the dynamic levels. I think it's a little bit the same thing as in Bach. You can really exaggerate the different levels of your dynamics, you know, and I think again it has to do with your technique. I think you should really think about exploring more all the possibilities of bow technique and of your instrument in general, you know. So try to go deeper in the string, closer to the bridge, use more bow, different speeds, you know, all those elements, so that you can create a more varied world, you know, of dynamics. No, so for instance, when you start here, it says mezzo forte, right? So I would start with, you know, good weight and a good feeling that you go deep in the string, so that it's very open in the sound, right? Okay. This is all mezzo forte character. And then comes this. He writes piano. I really want to hear a totally different sound, you know, so and now maybe go back, you know, close to the fingerboard, lighter here, and, you know, extremely soft. And now he writes mezzo piano more, so try to go deeper in the string again. And now mezzo forte. Yeah? So there are 3 steps in this phrase, and I couldn't really hear it. Okay?
Okay.
So can you finish the phrase before from here in mezzo forte? And then let us hear mezzo forte, piano, mezzo forte. Great. 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 It was much nicer. I mean, here was beautiful. Yeah, and then I advise you maybe to use this finger in. Just take the first finger so that you can connect it better and you can really play mezzo forte, because you are a bit scared and then you don't trust yourself, and then I don't hear the mezzo forte then, okay? Yeah. So maybe you could use this finger in and then stay mezzo forte. The harmony is so beautiful here, and then so that you arrive on this beautiful shining E major tonality without being like this, you know? Yeah. And now trust yourself. Yes.
What? I forgot how to play it afterwards.
It was so good that, you know, we were all blown away. Great. So that was good, yeah? Stay. And then, yeah? Good, good. It's again the same thing. Try to really give us more, you know, more variety, you know, in your playing. So if you play this, you start quite soft, okay, but then maybe, sorry, try to, you know, bring different harmonies, and then especially here when you play, really open, it really has to go somewhere, right? So maybe start less. Can you try directly from there? Yeah. Good. So where you are now, it says piano, right? So the problem before is that if you go back to piano already so soon, then I don't hear the color change, right? So when you played here, you were already so soft, you know? I think the episode is much longer than this, you know, so that's you still have this a lot of until here, yeah, and then it's a different world in piano, okay? So here again, you should keep the intensity of your phrase longer, you know, and not release right away, because otherwise the whole thing might sound too soft, you know. So be confident when you want intensity, just keep it over a whole bar, you know, so that until the harmony changes again, yeah?
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm afraid to hear this slow movement in a very beautiful dynamic, but that's too often the same one, you know. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing that I could tell you today. I think that that we should go to the next student, right?
Sorry.
I think that the time is it's been 1 hour. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great to hear you, to share some ideas again.
I had loads of great experience.
Great. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun to meet you for sure, and I hope to get to see you once for real in Riga if we can come one day again.
I hope to see you as well.
Great. So I wish you all the very best.
Thank
you. Take
you
care, and hope to meet you one day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Well, goodbye.